Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about input lag at gaming events and why it's very detrimental to the games that are being displayed. It's not necessarily for the at-home gamer as much as it is for the event staff and industry people that work at these events. After PAX East, I have come to find out that a lot of them actually follow my channel, so this is directly for you. If you work in the gaming industry, if you host events, if you organize anything, please listen to what I have to say because it's very important. For those of you at home, it's not directly for you, but some of the tips I'm going to give out could save you a lot of heartache. Got some crossbow gameplay here and Black Ops 3 going on just because it's fun. Don't think I'll be showing the whole gameplay today, so I'll probably edit it down to just the good bits. But input lag is a serious problem with gaming. For those of you that follow my channel, you're probably familiar with this, but if not, simply put, it's when the TV takes too long to process the data, or the controller takes too long to process the data, and there's a disconnect between when you hit the button and the action occurs. And I'm not talking about the fact that there's a wind up on moves or things like that, but a lot of games, especially fast-paced ones, you click the mouse, they shoot, you hit the A button, they jump, things like that. It's absolutely instant by your perception. However, if the TV is bad, if the controller is bad, if the computer overheats, or if something goes wrong, you'll hit the shoot button and it'll wait and then shoot, and it feels very delayed, and this can even make it very difficult for you to look around and aim because you're telling the thing to turn left, and then by the time you want to swipe and stop the target, it's going to keep on turning. It can be very, very frustrating, and when you have input lag at a public showing, it absolutely kills the games that are being displayed. It gives the gamer a bad feel for how the game plays and makes it feel like an inferior product. A lot of us are used to very responsive games. This isn't just something about Twitch-based shooters, even games that have wind-ups, but as soon as you hit the button, the action occurs. However, I have run into this problem over and over and over again at many different events. We're talking E3, we're talking PAX, Gamescom, even private events. They'll have setups that have a lot of input lag and make the game very difficult to play, and every single time I run into this, it makes me instantly dislike the game I'm playing. Even though I can logically process what's going on, it's still a frustrating experience. However, at events like, say, PAX that are open to the public, it's got to be super bad for casual gamers that have no idea what's going on, and they're just going to blame the games and say that they're crappy. So I think that's a huge problem. Anybody that spends a lot of money to take any game to any show floor, public, private, whatever, should definitely look into input lag because it'll leave a bad taste in the mouth of every single gamer. I'm going to talk about some causes of input lag and some fixes. We don't just complain about things with no solution. One of the causes is cheap TVs. This one is actually a little bit rare. It doesn't happen too often, but it does happen sometimes. Typically very, very old TVs that have been from con to con to con to con and just get refurbished, and they're just not up to date, and they have input lag on them, and typically the cheap TVs don't have a game mode or anything. But what is surprisingly the number one culprit is actually very expensive TVs. The very expensive TVs have a lot of additional settings, a lot of different processing. Sometimes they're plasma, sometimes they're designed for home theater, and I found that the more expensive the TV is, most of the time the least optimized it is for gaming, and it has the most input lag. A lot of times you're talking about giant companies like, Activision, EA, Microsoft, Sony, all these kind of things that have a ton of money for marketing events, so they go get the best TVs possible, thinking that every dollar that's spent goes toward giving the end consumer or the people that come to play a better end experience, which is better marketing for them. But very paradoxically, the expensive TVs have more input lag and are more frustrating to play on. Another common culprit is excessive heat/use on the machines. A lot of time they put the machines inside of a housing so that people can't walk by and turn them off or play with them or something like that. And I've noticed that as the machines, and by machines I mean consoles and PC, they both have the same problem here, as they tend to overheat and get hotter and hotter and hotter throughout the day, the input lag seems to stack up more and more and more. Finally, there is of course bad games. Sometimes the games are designed with input lag in them. Killzone is infamous for this. It does it sometimes. And sometimes they're just poorly optimized alpha. They haven't quite got that responsiveness or that processing time down. It definitely does happen, but it's very bad for the end consumer. For example, I was recently at PAX East and I played a lot of games at a lot of different booths, a lot of different companies. I played games on every console, every system, PC, you name it, Oculus, whatever, I've done it. However, over half of them were suffering from severe input lag, something that I could immediately notice when I picked up the game. It felt like it was difficult to aim, it felt like there was a delay in my jumps, it was very difficult. Some games were very twitchy and timing based, and it made the games feel poorly designed because the input lag made it impossible for me to play them. Now, even though I know what's going on, I keep thinking the games are bad, even though I know that's not the case. Now, later on, I went by some of the booths that had the input lag and eyeballed the TV TVs, and I looked them up on the Display Lag database, which is a fantastic website. You should always consult the Display Lag database before purchasing a gaming monitor or TV or anything. And I noticed that some of the TVs had pretty redonkulous display lags, and nobody kind of checked on that. The number one issue, though, is again the companies that get the nice TVs. Usually they're plasma, 3D, just something too fancy, too much processing, loads of input lag. As a gamer, I would prefer a cheap LCD TV or an LCD monitor. We're talking you can get these things that work just fine for $100 and have no input lag no matter how hot they get. I would prefer that over a really fancy TV. And I've seen stuff like they'll come out with like these Westinghouse like $3,000 monsters for you to play on. It looks really cool, but I've seen them have up to 3 seconds of lag. For instance, at the Halo 4 launch event, which is like 3 or 4 years ago now, I was supposed to play at the Microsoft store in Seattle on this giant TV in the storefront. It was like the nicest, most beautifulest TV I've ever seen in my life with the best colors and everything, but I'm not kidding when I say it had like 3 seconds of input lag, and it was completely impossible to play on because you couldn't even aim. The only way I even got kills was with the needler. So if you get the choice, go cheap. Buy $100, $150 monitors, cheapo LCD TVs that have a game mode. They'll perform much better than something very, very expensive. Also, enclosing consoles and PCs almost always tends to make them overheat, especially if you're doing something on PlayStation, because the PlayStation has Bluetooth controllers, which I run into as well. So adding any kind of physical barrier can also increase input lag. Very, very frustrating. You don't want that. You don't want your fans, you don't want your consumers, your customers, your event attendees to have any of these sort of problems. You just want them to be able to pick up a game and play and love it and not wonder why the game felt so clunky and unresponsive. Almost got my words mixed up right there. So, and again, guys at home, same tips for you. Don't get the super crazy expensive TVs. Check the display lag database. Don't put your consoles in a box, and make sure you know what you're doing when you get a game, because some games just kind of suck and others are very well optimized. And if any of the event staff listened, if any of you heard me, if any of you care, I'm just praying at the next event I go to, I'll see more cheapo monitors that have no input lag. Guys, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.